All right, welcome to the KCP community call on October 9, and we have a small group here today, but thank you all for coming. This call, as always, is governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which boils down to let's be excellent to each other. Pretty easy. Okay, I don't believe we have anyone who would like to introduce themselves. So when we only have one topic, so let's see. So I wanted to talk, and I was hoping for a bigger audience, but I guess we at least can make some headway on this. I wanted to talk about 0.29, our next release. And I'm mostly asking about that because I'm not sure, Mark, when the next Kubernetes minor release is like planned, but at least like the release cycle has started, right?
Yes, that's correct. The next release is planned for mid-December. So that's 1.35.
Yep. And that means we are currently with 2 versions behind in what KCP supports on like released versions. And we should definitely try to catch up. And basically, I wanted to talk quickly about what kind of flagship features we have, what kind of things we still expect to add. And MJ added a couple of things, so thank you very much for that. I did update the milestone on GitHub a little bit, so I wanted to take a quick look at that and see if that sounds good to you. So from the like what we've done perspective, like we had a couple of bug fixes, but for example, what we're adding is the label selector for resources. I'm surprised did we not? Is this a 2.29 feature? I thought we added it in 2.28 already. Now I am.
Label selectors? No. Did you ask about label selectors?
Yes.
No, that was in only master as of now, main.
Okay. See, I was not aware of that. So that means that is one of the features we're going to launch. We have this like pseudo group for cross workspace authorization. I think that is quite nice. There's a few kubectl improvements, which I think were mostly like third part or like external contributions. So no one from those contributors is here, but if you're watching this video, thank you very much. But yeah, I think that so these are the things that we've like feature-wise, these are the 2-3 things that we're adding, or that we've merged already. And the things on the agenda that we still have is virtual resource aggregation, which I believe, as per Robert, is like almost done. And then basically what you see here. So there's like there's some docs improvements. That's not super interesting, but there's like a few bugs here. Basically, we should probably rebase to the very latest 1.33 before we release. We should complete all the like post monorepo migration tasks. But yeah, basically the 2 features that I'm seeing that we probably want to add are virtual resource aggregation and partitioned API export virtual workspace endpoints. Like there's a description of this feature here. I wanted to basically ask, is that all? Like, am I forgetting anything? One thing that we forgot, and I wonder why it didn't show up here, is Christoph's workspace ORDC feature. Why is that not here? Okay, I'll have to find the issue and add it to the milestone. Or is it in open? No, okay, it's missing. Christoph, if you have it handy, maybe just add the milestone. But yeah, that's what I have, what I'm aware of. Am I forgetting anything? Does this look like a good release to us all?
Looks enough.
So let's see per workspace OIDC, resource level selector per workspace OIDC, partition export points. Okay,
It's now the milestone.
perfect. Thank you very much. So if that is what our roadmap looks like for 0.29, I would say we try to focus on getting these things in as much as we can, as much as other tasks allow, but then we can cut a new release, get these features out to everyone, and basically, continue basically with the next Kubernetes rebase. Because after KCP releases before Kube rebase. So good luck to whoever picks that one up, as usual. But yeah. I'm not a fan of giving ourselves like an arbitrary deadline, but does anyone have like a rule of thumb kind of guess when this would be realistic? Because we have, I think, okay, virtual resources are almost done. Label selectors are merged per workspace OIDC. I know that Christoph is still working on some follow-up tasks there. And this is, I think, the only issue that's not been like tackled at all yet, so only feature. So there is a release. Yep.
And the rebase.
Yes. I mean, so the rebase is only for bumping to a newer Kube patch release. I hope that's just a clean cut, like rebase.
To be honest, if the partition TP export endpoint slips to the next one, I wouldn't mind. Like, we know we need it, but the people who need it, they can use main too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And that makes it almost straightforward that we can target it almost beginning of next week if per OIDC workspace lands.
Ooh, you're very optimistic. I was thinking about, okay, can we make one happen in November?
Oh, okay.
We can try to find a middle ground there. Let me put it that way. The sooner the better. But you know, given also the monorepo migration, we'll have to clean up some of these things before we release and all of that kind of stuff. So next week, I don't think it's realistic, if I'm being honest.
Makes sense.
Maybe we target beginning of November, because also starting from mid of November, I'll be out for 2 weeks. If anyone else is wants to jump in for releases, that's very much welcome. But yeah, at least I won't be available as a release manager afterwards. So yeah, let's see. I mean, target is early November, if we can make it. That sounds somewhat reasonable to everyone. All right, cool. Any other thoughts or notes on release planning? Okay, do we have other topics? Because there's nothing on the agenda, but does anyone have any other business to discuss? Maybe as a very quick status update on the monorepo stuff. For your awareness, we probably have to cut a 0.29 alpha release in the near future. So we get a valid new Git tag on the repositories that are now in staging. The reason for that is in the migration, we couldn't really get tags working properly. I don't think anyone is a consumer of these packages without having one of the working tags selected, but we should cut a release of an alpha release of KCP sooner than later, so we we sync alpha tags to the staging repositories.
Yeah, that should happen.
Soon for valid tags on staging repos. Okay. Think that's mostly it. Does anyone have a topic?
Maybe ad hoc one.
Sure.
So we've been having hard days with our Kubernetes CI cluster and I think most of that is because of the providers issues, because there's network connectivity, nodes going down, like you name it. And I don't know enough about PRAO setup. Is it okay just to upgrade our CI cluster, or do we need to do something in a PRAO land before we pump the Kube version in there?
No, it's just a regular Kubernetes cluster to PRAO. You should be able to just upgrade normally. As long as the credentials don't change, right?
Okay,
No.
so I'm gonna try to do that. Christoph, you're out next week, right?
Yep.
So okay, I'm gonna try to.
I'm still in the near vicinity of communication devices with screens, so I'm not fully gone.
I'm gonna try to upgrade tomorrow morning and see if it helps, because to be honest, these flakes are to the point it's irritating.
Can I ask for one thing? Don't forget that this is managed in OpenTofu and that we have a module for that. I don't think we have.
That's the hardest part. I need to find out how to run the Terraform script, Tofu script.
It should be all documented. Give me 1 second. Let me bring this up real quick so we can talk about that. Clusters, PRAO. No, it's not here. 1 second. Huh? Where is it then? Did we never merge this? No.
We can take it offline.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm very confused.
Yeah, but I remember we did that.
Here it is. Here it is. Yeah. So here's a README that should help you set everything up. So yeah, that hopefully does the trick. Okay. Yeah. On the note of CI problems, there is also something weird. So we bumped the build image to the latest Go version of 1.24. And KCP operator tests are not working with that. They fail, I think, for a different reason than what you're seeing, MJ. But there's something very odd in Kind and Docker not really wanting to pass images between each other anymore. If anyone sees behavior like that, I think we've updated API Sync Agent and KCP to the latest build images already, and they don't really use this functionality. But if you're seeing something odd in CI that looks like, I don't know, Kind is just breaking down, please let me or Christoph know, because there's something we haven't really figured out going on there.
What, do you know symptoms in a KCP operator repo? Because all my PRs there,
it is just on. Let's keep this quick, but it's just on my PR that bumps the Go version. So basically, there is a problem here that it cannot load images into Docker, like Kind load or something, whatever the command is called. It doesn't work, and we have no idea why.
Okay.
But yeah, bit of a CI. CI is having a bad week all around. Okay. Any other topics? Anything else we should talk about?
So maybe I have a quick one just to make sure if this would be acceptable. So there is and I'm basically raising this one because Stefan is on a call and he might know if we're on the right path or wrong path. So we have a case where consumers wants to run KCP in front of load balancer with TLS re-encryption. This means there is a Cloudflare in front of it, which exposes the real public nice certificate. Cloudflare does a blind termination or non-blind, but basically re-encrypts the traffic and hits the front proxy, while front proxy uses the internal CA certificates. So the problem with this is the external, how's that called? Just remind me. External logical cluster admin client. In a KCP shard, the client goes recursively to the front proxy. So that guy basically doesn't trust because when it goes to Cloudflare, to the front proxy, it goes to Cloudflare, and the first thing it finds there is Cloudflare certificate, not CA certificate. So let me try share a screen. And
why did we go directly to a shard?
So shards need to go, some of the shard clients, like very small amount of them, they use this external logical cluster client, which goes through the front proxy. Endpoints, URLs, workspace provisioning, like there's basically, I think, only one client which uses that. Majority of the traffic goes to the shard.
Yeah, and we need a different way to specify a user, like an identity, which is compatible, right?
Just a trust. So basically, I did this proof of concept. I didn't test it yet, but simple flag on a shard, CA bundle file.
Yeah, but if you put the Cloudflare CA there, then you trust them for everything.
No,
you want to?
Yeah, no, you trust only for CA data, means you trust the connection, but you don't trust what's inside the like C names and subjects.
But it's about a client certificate, right? Which has user data, like username and groups.
No. It's for authoritative data. Like if you look to kubeconfig, client certificate is close to the user data. This one is for the CA authority, I think data it's called, server authority data.
Wait, this problem is bigger, I think, because the external logical cluster admin, that's coming in via kubeconfig, right? And that has a certificate. That's what Stefan, I think.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And Cloudflare won't accept that client certificate, and they probably won't tunnel it through to front proxy either, because I don't think that's how TLS works.
And we could of course build a certificate which is then trusted by Cloudflare and.
No. So this guy is merged one. So you read the file.
Yeah, but this is the CA bundle. Like this is in the what you have in the server section of a kubeconfig, right?
Right.
That is so that your client, the external logical cluster admin client, trusts the Cloudflare server that handles this. But the other problem is that there's a client certificate in that kubeconfig that Cloudflare won't accept.
Yeah, so this file should be concatenated both our own server CA, which we already have, and the Cloudflare CA.
Yeah, but this way you're fixing the client. The client will trust Cloudflare, but Cloudflare won't trust your client certificate that you're sending.
I think it will.
I mean, maybe you can configure it. I don't know.
You can, like, you mean for the full re-encryption stuff, like when the traffic from Cloudflare to front proxy?
No, what I mean is this is a kubeconfig, right? The external logical cluster. This is like something that we generate. And it has a user identity that is based on a client certificate. Now, a client certificate is basically like part of the TLS handshake. And you're not doing the handshake with the front proxy, you're doing the handshake with the Cloudflare server. And the Cloudflare server doesn't know about your CA, I mean, just assuming at least, your CA that you're using to issue client certificates. So Cloudflare will reject this connection.
Even if you get the trust right, aren't like the CN and the org, aren't they used for group membership and all those user data?
Yep.
It's in the
Yep.
client third, and you lose that. Even if Cloudflare re-encrypts, you don't have those names anymore. So what we could do, we could just not use the client third and find another way to authenticate. A token, something like that.
Yeah. Although like static tokens are not ideal, I would say. Oops. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of limited, I think, on suitable auth methods. Is an alternative, so this is like maybe this is something that I've been thinking about for a while. Shards reaching like back to the front proxy always felt a bit weird to me. Would it make sense to investigate if we really need that? Like, can we invest? I mean, this is like bigger than what MJ just showed, so you know maybe it's not the way to go. But maybe there's a way to eliminate this like kind of round trip that shards do.
We have a case, right? The scheduler is directly talking to a shard.
Scheduler and API export endpoint slice URL writing.
And why
And
did
you
we
need-
choose another way here? Do you remember? I remember that we added that, but I forgot the details. Why?
For the endpoint slice URLs?
Yeah, why does it go through? It could go through I could look up the shard and then go there, right, directly. But
Yeah,
it doesn't
you
know
need
the
to dig the
shard.
code. There was a good reason for that. I need to dig the
I
code
think-
comment.
It writes into the endpoint slice, right? It doesn't know on which shard that lives at the moment.
Yes.
So we went to the front proxy to, don't have to know.
So alternative, which we've been brewed a few times ago, was that front proxy should have 2 ports bound. One is for internal usage, basically, where we send like all the shard traffic, and the one for the public traffic, which is like public certificate, basically.
Or deploy two.
Yes.
Then you can just solve it today. No need to complicate front proxy, just have one internally. The operator already
exactly.
deploys an internal front proxy for its own usage at the time.
So there's one question that I have here. I don't think we would even necessarily need a second listener on the KCP front proxy service. We would just need to teach the shard to not use the public facing URL.
Yeah.
We would just need to teach it, hey, like go to the front proxy through this internal like service Kubernetes service URL. But that would then, I mean, if you embed the Kubernetes service names in the certificate, would mean that then it uses the front proxy server certificate, and like all of our woes would be eliminated.
It has to be separate certificate, because like when you Cloudflare or Cert Manager gives you cert, they give you for the URL from proxy.columbus.something.com. And shards hitting that URL needs to have service URL itself. So having second front proxy works because you can emit 2 different certs for them, or 2 different listeners, basically.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Like the main problem is that at the point you want to have external cert, you can have in like service notations in the cert because they just can't be created.
And we could solve this either with like a second listener and the front proxy that you can enable with a different cert, or with a second front proxy instance. Both of these things work, I guess, and they're like kind of like implementation detail. Even though I would like to keep the amount of processes you need to start for a KCP instance like limited. But that means we need to teach the KCP shards basically, hey, for trying to reach the front door of a KCP installation, use a different name. Like replace the public hostname that we've passed, that is in a URL. Please replace that with this internal
Yeah, but
name
that's
we're
quite
giving you.
easy, to be honest.
I would
So
say
just-
so too.
Flag and just wire in that right kube config. And we already have a precedent. So Christoph, you deployed that mini front proxy, like for the root shard in KCP deployment. Can we convert this to be like a second internal front proxy? Has it been dedicated for the root shard?
Sorry, which proxy do you mean exactly?
So in the current KCP operator deployment,
Yes.
root shard has its own dedicated front proxy.
Yeah. Well, it's for the entire KCP setup that belongs.
Oh, so it has the mappings of all the other shards too, right?
Yeah, that's what it's there
Oh,
for.
so we
It's
can use
there,
that
so
basically for this. Okay.
the reason was the regular front proxy might drop groups and usernames for security purposes. So we couldn't make the operator go through the public front proxy because it might lose credentials and stuff. So after all, it was just simpler to have an internal front proxy that we can just rely on.
Yeah, so maybe we can just piggyback on this one and use it. This raises a different problem that we would need to retrofit this to the Helm land.
Like
Because
the
Helm-
internal front proxy is only for things that the operator does.
Now, this use case will be for the Helm too. Because user might want to have a external certificate, but install it using Helm chart. Hence, we need a second front proxy for the certificate.
No, the use case is that the operator has to talk with KCP to provision workspaces and RBAC stuff. That's why we need internal.
I mean, currently, the second front proxy does that. But if we start using it for the internal traffic routing, for the scheduling and API export URL provisioning,
Yes. Yeah.
at that point, we need to add this feature to the Helm chart. Up to this point, it was not needed.
At that point, it wouldn't be owned by the operator anymore, technically. Right?
Technically,
Understood.
yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like a system front proxy, like both used by KCP internals and the operator. I mean, I don't think it's a problem to retrofit this into the Helm chart. It's just
No, it's
another
just,
deployment. But I do want to stress that if we have to implement it that way, yes. I still feel like if we could pull this off without like any downsides, I would prefer this. Like I still find it a weird traffic flow that front proxy stuff to the shards, and then shards go back to front proxy to proxy spec stuff to shards. Ideally, I would not like to see that anymore. But as MJ said, there was probably a good reason for that. I would just like us to do like a little bit of research before we commit to the second front proxy. That makes sense.
So there was two reasons. One was scheduling. So when we schedule a workspace, basically currently scheduling is done by almost round robin by the front proxy. So whatever shard hits the workspace gets there if it's not specified explicitly.
But that's not a scale. I feel like okay, yeah, that's cool for this like round robin scheduling. It's a convenient way to do it, but we do want to have proper scheduling eventually, right? So we would remove this eventually as well. Either like we would remove it either way eventually.
And the second one is that API export endpoint slices, the name is always catch me. The URLs, they basically appear or goes away based on a consumers. And we did that because the URL is not usable if there isn't consumers bound to it. It basically just doesn't work. So if we solve that problem, we could remove the stuff and just keep URLs for every shard always.
Can you help me again? What is the problem with endpoint slices?
So if you have in an old system where when the URLs were on the API exports, like 2-3 releases ago, if you don't have a consumers of those API exports, these URLs basically don't remember now, but they are not serving anything.
Mm-hmm.
And like they kind of lock the controller from starting. It just, I think nothing is being served, like nothing there. So we said, okay, let's make them dynamic. If there is no consumers, there is no URL.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
How's that
to
related to
have
the front
this,
proxy?
because when the controller reconciles the URLs, so I'm on a shard B, on a second shard, and I say like, oh, this API export, which I got from the cache server, it doesn't have any consumers on my shard, on shard B. I need to go and update the export, like recursively, basically remove myself from the pool because there is no consumers. But the export lives on a shard A. So I have to reach out, go around.
But that doesn't feel like a strong case for the front proxy routing here, because if you get this from cache, you already know what shard it came from, and we have, I believe, clients to reach out to every shard. So why am I going through the front proxy to patch something where I already know which shard to go to get it patched?
Because we don't have any traffic, I think, at this point, shard to shard. So
Do we not?
Leaf don't talk to each other. They only talk via trunk Cloudflare, like a front proxy. So if we want to change that, this means in any future architectures, like currently you could isolate shards by not having them fully network connectivity between them. As long as we can go and reach like via trunk, via front proxy, you can deploy one shard in one kube cluster and another in another kube cluster, have them exposed via semi-private DNS, and that's it. At this point, like if we go this path, we're going into service meshes and like everybody to everybody architecture. Alternative is to fix the URL pieces, so empty URL would serve some dummy traffic or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but then basically the endpoint slice becomes. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
then like if you have charts, like there's also always going to be 100 URLs in there, right? It's
Right.
it's really,
And 100 replicas of empty controllers running in memory. Because now the beauty is we need to write, we have this on to-do list to write this meta controller, I think, Stefan, you named it, where basically multi-cluster runtime will instantiate other multi-cluster runtimes based on URLs. So 5 consumers, 5 instances pops up, one goes away, one gets shut down.
yeah. I mean, there's 2 touch points that shards have at the moment. It's either by the front proxy or the cache server.
Yeah, but cache
Why
is read-only data.
It's always
Front
owned by a
proxy is-
specific shard, right? But what's in the
Yeah,
okay.
and the front proxy is write data in a way.
Yeah, I guess that's a question we need to think a bit about more. Like, should shards be talking to each other or not?
I would want to avoid that.
Yeah.
It just opens this can of worm, which from my previous places at big cloud provider, it's like that was a can of worm we regret opening.
But to be fair, you still have that problem that you need to mesh everything with each other, right? Because your front proxy then needs to reach all the shards.
Yeah, but that means that can be just a single DNS. Yeah, basically it's a trunk to leaves, not leaf to leaf.
So yeah, the star organization.
Yeah.
Maybe what trips us all up is the fact that it's called front proxy. And we always think we can only use it in front of something. Maybe we should have called it load balancer. Then no one would question if we can use a load balancer internally. But no, it's called front proxy. Yeah.
Now, for me, short term is we deploy a second front proxy. We teach the system how to work that, and we document the, like, if we can fix the root cause of scheduling and endpoint slice URLs, we can get rid of it. But those two will take time. Deploying front proxy can be done in a few days.
Yeah, I know, but I just wanted to like take a pause and be like, okay, this is like the quick, is like how much of a hack workaround is this?
I don't think that's a hack. Like deploying the separate instance should easily removable if we solve this problem in the future. Second listener might be even harder to remove than this instance.
So let me just one second. I'm sorry. Like if people don't have time for this kind of detailed thingy, like I totally get that. We'll like, but if I think about this, so we have basically, sorry. Now
No, good.
No, it gets serious, man. Oh boy.
So then we have the cache, right? So this is kind of our architecture. So we have, let's say we have two shards. And the cache is like one like mysterious like cross-region thingy that doesn't really exist yet, but we'll skip that for now. So basically, so traffic comes in, goes to one of the front proxies, and that routes it to like these. And the like kind of weird behavior that we have is that here we have this kind of callback situation. But I'm thinking about network isolation here. So the problem basically is, wait, is there a problem?
No, it's like, this is not a new issue. It's like, this is here pinning traffic. Like when you need to do something with yourself, you go recursively around. Hence, you don't need to create a new network rules because basically you reuse the existing network rule, which already exists there for usual traffic. Just in this case, your request is targeting specific shard. So you basically, you get routed to the specific place. That's the thing, like we're not inventing anything new here. It's been.
Yeah, but so my kind of train of thought here is, I think, at least, bear with me for a second. These are basically the Kubernetes clusters that host this, right? So let's say we have a cluster in region A and we have a cluster in region B, and they both have like a front proxy and like a shard. Let's assume that's our like scenario. And if we do so,
what is happening here?
I'm just
in this scenario, shards, there is one of two options. Either shard has a semi-public DNS,
yes.
east-us dot, let's piggyback on Oracle, east-us.oracle.cloud.private.com, which is basically not known to the public, but if you know where to look, it's there.
And that's basically
every data center has endpoint out there. And that endpoint is configured in the front proxies running globally and can be reached. This is how Azure AAD works. This is how Oracle AAD works. They have an instance which basically calls cross data centers endpoints.
Mm-hmm. And that's basically this kind of like the network layer in between these two, right? So basically this arrow here, that means that the shard needs to be like on a semi like private thingy, but there needs to be like a network here, network connection here from front proxy to there.
Yeah.
So I think what I was trying to think about is like what kind of gain are we getting from this traffic? Because like this kind of architecture means that this Kubernetes cluster here and this Kubernetes cluster here, they need to be able to talk to each, or like at least to the endpoints either way. So whether we do like the call from front proxy to shard or from shard to shard doesn't make a huge difference. Like
no, it
the front,
makes that's a huge difference, because meshing cluster traffic together, like
But you
it's
would
a
hit the same- so
it's a different direction of the traffic. East, west, north, south, basically.
Yeah, but we have.
But
I mean,
with
we
two
have the.
shards, it's not that visible in the diagram. Add 500 shards here and 3 front proxies, and you will see how many connections your everyone talks to everyone takes, and how many it takes from the front proxies to the shard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also,
And
I
that's
find
the
it a bit
main point.
disingenuous to group things by name. Maybe the front proxy that is used between shards can live on the same layer as the shards.
But
In the
that's
diagram.
not how these layers work. Like, this is
Yeah,
where like
but,
I don't get that
that's not
point.
the
But okay, I hear you. I hear you, folks. I can't really articulate my problem here, so it's probably invalid.
It's I think it's an old school like north-south traffic versus west-east. Like,
Yeah, I think my point was that east-west traffic is still happening because front proxies are, in the same Kubernetes clusters as KCP shards. So there's still like cluster-to-cluster communication happening. Yeah, I don't know. Wait.
Okay, so long story short, let's go with a second front proxy for now. Let's see if this fixes the problem.
I think it will fix the problem. So yeah.
And document these two use cases, because I think it's worth documenting those two use cases where traffic goes through the front proxy for the people to know it. Because from last few days, we noticed that when this client breaks, you have semi-functioning KCP. Like things looks working, but they don't.
It has always been that case, and like plenty of, and this is also why I was like, can we just eliminate this? Because like I've talked to so many users who ran into this. Like it's only visible when you start scheduling workspaces. Before that, your KCP instance looks great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, let's.
Yeah, I guess like for now we'll go with this kind of. I think it's I don't mean this negatively, but the cheap option. Like it doesn't require us to do a lot of work. So let's try to solve the problem and then see if there's any other steps we can take.
Add a bullet point for documenting those two use cases where the traffic needed and the symptoms, because I think this is one of those frequently asked questions.
I will say it only one last time, and then I will shut up forever about it. If we now use the front proxy internally, maybe it's time to rename it to KCP proxy, so it's not so confusing. Thank you. That was my piece.
It's still the front for talking to any shard.
Naming is hard.
Yes. Okay. Is there any other input on this topic, or does anyone else have a topic? All right, doesn't seem to be the case. For the agenda that we had, it took us quite long to get through all of this, but it was a very important discussion, so thanks for having them. And with that, I'll see you probably not in 2 weeks, probably earlier, but yeah, see you latest at the next community call. So have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Cheers.